Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining us on the 22nd edition of the World Sustainable Development Summit, India's premier platform for deliberating discourse around sustainability and climate change. My name is Riya Srivastav, and I'm delighted to welcome you all to the thematic track towards people-centric smart city development being held in partnership with the European Union. To begin with, I would like to invite Mr. Sanjay Seth, Senior Director with the Sustainable Habitat Program at TERI, to deliver the welcome remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Riya, and a very warm welcome to all the participants as well as the esteemed speakers, names of whom you see on the dais. It's really my pleasure to welcome you to this panel discussion on towards people-centric smart city development. We would be having the honor of listening to such an esteemed panel who would be sharing their insights and experiences on this very important topic. I once again would like to extend a very warm welcome to all the panelists who have generously given their time and expertise to us, to being with us today. I also extend a very warm welcome to our audience for their presence for such an important discussion that is, I'm sure that is going to be very, very meaningful. And the outcomes of these discussions are really something that everyone is looking forward to. As we all know that the world today is seeing a growing number of challenges facing our cities, right from rapid urbanization, climate change, to inadequate infrastructure, services. Our cities face a complex set of challenges, and the need for smart city development has never been more than urgent. The Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, the Government of India, have taken a leadership position in initiating several efforts in this direction and to make cities smart and livable. Some of them, of course, you are very familiar with, the Smart City Mission, Amrut, and so on. The new budget tabled recently also saw the government emphasizing and putting a lot of impetus towards sustainable and smart city development. I think all of us are privy of what the budget was recently announced. However, the success of such initiatives depends on whether it is truly people-centric, that is making sure that the needs and preferences of citizens are at the forefront of smart city development. People-centric smart city development is a promising way of putting people first and designing cities that work for everyone. The importance of this approach cannot be overstated. We need to make sure that the benefits of smart city initiatives are accessible and helpful for everyone, and that it doesn't leave anyone behind. I believe that this kind of an approach is critical to creating livable, sustainable, and resilient cities. And that is where I think the program at TERI, my colleagues, we work in the Transport and Urban Governance Division. A lot of efforts are towards these initiatives. TERI has been working on several city initiatives that focus on citizen involvement, correlation, and inclusivity. We have pioneered the Living Lab approach in India, which involves collaborating with citizens to co-create solutions that address the specific needs and challenges of their cities. One such project that we recently concluded was the Urban Living Lab in the city of Panjim, Goa, which evolved as an urban sandbox to test new approaches and solutions for livable cities. We collaborated with citizens on multiple fronts, ranging organizing walks with women for understanding ways to ensure safety and sociable streets, to setting up of pop-up bicycle lanes in the city. We are now currently working on a similar project under the TCAP project, which is an acronym for Transformative Climate Action using Participatory Data-Driven Decision-Making Platforms, along with our partners NIUA, the United Nations University. We hope to engage with citizens in a meaningful manner, leveraging their insights and ideas to develop smart city solutions for data-driven decision-making in the city. Through all this work, we've learned that collaboration and cooperation with stakeholders, including residents, governments, academia, and businesses, are very critical to the long-term success of such programs. This year, India, as you know, has taken up the G20 presidency, which represents a pivotal moment in its history as it strives to reshape global governance and decision making. Holding this presidency is a significant chance for India to showcase its leadership on the international platform and play a role in finding practical solutions to worldwide issues. Particularly, the Urban 20 ambition aims to promote sustainable development, inclusive economic growth, and inclusive smart cities are a key component in achieving these goals. In the next few minutes, we will be hearing from a very distinguished panel, a team of experts and practitioners who have been at the forefront of all of this effort. They will make sure that they share their experiences, insights, and perspectives on creating people-centric smart cities. I'm looking forward to hearing from our esteemed panelists, and I hope that this discussion sparks new ideas and initiatives that will help us to create smarter, more people-centric cities in India. I thank you once again for your presence here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable insights and remarks. Before we dive into today's panel discussion, I would like to give you all a brief presentation on people-centric smart city development to set the context. Cities are growing rapidly, and so increasing need for them to become more connected, efficient, and sustainable. The notion of smart cities has been present for a considerable amount of time, but its prevalence has increased in the recent years, often being associated with the future of urban management via technological means. Previous concepts like digital cities, intelligent cities, and information cities, these were considered as the blueprint for smart cities of now. And even to this day, when we talk about smart cities, they are viewed through a technocentric lens, where emphasis is laid on utilization of information and communication technologies and other modern tools to enhance the functioning of physical infrastructure systems. Smart cities are also often seen as product-driven, determined by top-down interests, as they do not fully address the needs and concerns of the local community. However, we are now moving away from this one-dimensional approach towards a more holistic, people-centered perspective of looking at present-day smart cities. A people-centric smart city prioritizes citizen participation and engagement. The city fosters collaboration between citizens, government, industry, and academia to promote innovation and problem solving with a strong emphasis on sustainability and quality of life. Such cities aim to provide equal access to digital technologies and information to all the citizens, regardless of their socioeconomic background or their geographic location, and have a strong focus on keeping them safe, secure, and informed. Overall, the concept of people-centric smart cities is more process-driven, where technology is used to enhance the well-being of citizens and create more livable and sustainable cities. Many cities are increasingly adopting this approach in their smart city development. For example, Barcelona's Smart City Initiative, known as the City OS, has prioritized city engagement through the development of digital platforms and mobile applications that allow residents to access real-time data on city services and also to report issues directly to city officials. The City OS has also implemented a variety of sustainable initiatives, including bike-sharing programs, green roofs, and renewable energy projects to promote social and environmental sustainability. Similarly, Amsterdam's Digital City Agenda has included the development of living labs, which provide citizens with the tools and the resources to participate in co-creation of digital tools for the city. And a strong focus of data and data privacy and security is also laid on that. In the Indian context, while there is still progress to be made in certain areas, several Indian cities are making significant strides towards more people-centric and sustainable smart cities. The Government of India's Smart City Mission aims at ensuring that all citizens have access to basic services, including water, sanitation, and healthcare, while encouraging engagement through various means, such as public consultations, feedback mechanisms, surveys. For instance, Pune, one of the smart cities under the India Smart City Mission, has introduced a traffic management system that uses real-time data to optimize traffic flow and reduce congestion. The city has focused on improving public transportation with the introduction of bus rapid transit system and a digital app for that allows citizens to track bus routes and schedules in real time. Moreover, as Mr. Sanjay Seth mentioned, TERI is already working with the United Nations University and the National Institute of Urban Affairs on the project TCAP, short for Transformative Climate Action, using participatory data-driven decision-making platforms. The ongoing project, which is happening in Visakhapatnam, aims to enhance stakeholder engagement and promote coordinated local action, while also strengthening the capacity of target groups to make data-driven decisions toward climate action in the city. However, implementing a people-centric approach to smart city development comes with its own set of challenges. In many cities, there is a significant digital divide, with certain segments of the population lacking access or the skills to use digital technologies or the services. Moreover, smart city technologies often involve the collection and use of a large amount of data, which raises concerns about privacy and security. Ensuring the citizens' data is protected and used appropriately has been one of the biggest barriers. Many cities may also lack the necessary infrastructure or the funding and technical expertise required to support the smart city development. Lastly, governance and regulatory structures may not be designed to accommodate new technologies or even the multi-stakeholder participation models, resulting in bureaucratic hurdles and delays. This brings us to the key points of discussions for the session. With the objective of highlighting the importance of a people-centric approach towards smart city development, this session will discuss how smart city initiatives can be designed and implemented to prioritize citizens' needs and their role in the development of smart cities. The session will also deliberate on the various challenges faced and provide an opportunity to discuss the innovative approaches and ongoing initiatives that tackle them as a potential way forward. Without any further ado, I would like to invite the esteemed chair of the session, Ms. Camilla Christensen Rai, Councillor at the Delegation of the European Union, India, on stage. Ms. Rai is responsible. Ms. Christensen Rai is responsible for the partnership on smart and sustainable urbanization between the EU and India, as well as the India-EU Water Partnership in Air Quality. Previously, Ms. Rai worked as Councillor Urban Development at the Royal Danish Embassy and on sustainable urban water management between Udaipur Municipal Corporation and the city of Aarhus in Denmark. Ms. Rai has also worked as special advisor at the Danish Energy Agency, Ministry of Climate and Energy, on bilateral cooperation between Denmark and India, Czech Republic, and Ukraine. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Hitesh Vaidya, Director, National Institute of Urban Affairs. Mr. Vaidya has more than 25 years of broad-based experiences in the area of urban development, urban governance, and urban infrastructure management, with poverty alleviation being one of the integral components. Prior to joining the NIUA, he was country representative of UN Habitat India, where he was intensely involved in providing capacity assistance to India's urban ecosystem and to roll out urban flagship missions in India. Our next panelist is Ms. Katie McGinty, Vice President and Chief Sustainability Government and Regulatory Affairs Officer, Johnson's Control. Ms. McGinty serves on the Executive Committee of the Johnson's Control, the global leader for smart, healthy, and sustainable building technology. She helps drive Johnson Control's top-tier sustainability performance, including recognition as one of the world's 100 most sustainable corporations. Our next panelist is Ms. Vaishali Nandan, Head of Projects, GIZ India. Ms. Nandan is head of the projects for climate smart cities and cities combating plastics entering marine environment at GIZ India. She has over 25 years of experience on issues related to waste management, urban planning, and climate change. A geographer and urban planner by profession, she has several papers to her credit and has been part of several expert committees. I would now like to invite Dr. Panagiotis Karamanos, India Country Coordinator, EU International Urban and Regional Corporation, IORC. Dr. Karamanos has more than 20 years of experience in India, Europe, and the US on environmental, urban, aviation, and policy issues. Along with being the country coordinator for EU's IORC project, he also serves as the senior advisor to Airport Carbon Accreditation, the only voluntary global carbon management standard for airports. May I now request Ms. Shruti Narayan, Regional Director, South and West Asia, C40 cities, to join us. Ms. Narayan works closely with the city leadership to sustain this and scale up C40's efforts in the region. Prior to this, she was an upstream officer with International Finance Corporation's Asia Pacific Cities platform and has also led IFC's Green Building Program in South Asia. Let us extend a warm welcome to all our panelists. Our panel discussion will follow a structured format, with each panelist having an opportunity to share views on topics as per the chair's moderation. We encourage audience participation, and we will have time to discuss and for audience questions towards the end of the discussion, followed by a summarization of the session outcomes by the chair, Ms. Christensen Roy. I would now request Ms. Roy to take the panel discussion forward. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah, so welcome to the thematic track. It's a great pleasure to be here, of course, together with Mr. Hitesh Vaidya, Ms. Kathleen, Ms. Nandan, Ms. Shruti, and Dr. Panagiotis, and of course to organize together with TERI. So, of course, we will talk about cities. We will talk about people-centric smart cities. But first, I'd just like to say a few words about the EU delegation and the EU. So from EU side, we have a partnership with Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, Government of India on smarter sustainable urbanization. It's a partnership since 2017 between the EU and Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. So this is our framework for our work on sustainable and smart cities. So the objective of this session here today is on what we are calling it towards people-centric smart city development. So we'd like to discuss how smart city initiatives can be designed and implemented in order to prioritize citizens' needs and improve quality of life. And of course, we have 5 panelists here, which you have all been introduced to. We have 4 questions. And basically what I will do, I will invite the panelists to give their response to one of the questions. We go one round. Then I would also very much like some comments from audience, and we will try and do a second round as well. So let me just now start with inviting Mr. Hitesh Vaidya. I would like to start maybe asking you one question. So this question is, what should people-centric smart city development look like? So I think we have like 3-4 minutes, and then we will move to the next panelist. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you very much. And thank you, everyone. First of all, I'll take this opportunity to thank TERI for inviting me to this session. And thank you, panel. And I hope we learn more from the panel, how people-centric smart city can be developed. But, you know, I have been working with the Smart City Mission for some time. And I have also been a part of Master Plan of Delhi 2041, which is, aspiration, the Delhi we want to give to the next generation, because I definitely see I'll not be there to see the fruits of what happens to Delhi in 2041 and what we have developed. But, you know, having said that, and working in these 2 experiences which we have, I particularly think that, and I'll focus on things right now, as Mr. Sanjay Seth also talked about, India is celebrating the G20 presidency, and IUA is technical secretariat for Urban 20 engagement group under the G20 presidency, and a lot of partners are associated with us to see how we can really showcase and celebrate our urban footprints, which India has, taken over a period of so many years, and how we are really moving towards this whole smart city movement. But having said that, one of the theme under the U20, which is the first theme which we have, is how do you convert intentions to action? And intention to action, if it has to happen, you know, you can go and have an aspiration that by 2070, we will have a net zero, we will 2050, we will do this, and 2030, we will be sustainable development goals. I think I don't know. I don't see 2041, so 2070, I don't know. How do you define net zero? I don't know. But if these intentions have to be converted into action, then the only way is to go back to the people, to understand and involve them. Just converting that intention to action will not happen by its own. We have to start thinking, and cities are going to be the prime focus of converting this intention to action, and it cannot happen without city. But having said that, the experience which I have with these two things, I see a five-pronged approach if we really want to have a people-centric planning process, smart cities. So first thing is, how do we engage cities in the whole process of it? Right now, our master plans or our thing are very, very much driven by the thinking which is happening at the corridors of power in the ministries or corridors of organizations which are developing, or a consultants or a event managers or agents of ministry who are working on it. Are we really being forced to do? And as an agent, I have a task given. Master plan of Delhi has to be prepared. Whether it is people-centric or not people-centric, that's not my TOR defined to me. My TOR says by June 2021, you should have a master plan ready, because that is the cycle which has. So I really go with that intention. How do I do? Is it a tick mark which I do? I engaged, and I have been, one of the change which we have made, that first time in the preparing a master plan, we did engage with around 70 to 80 different groups. We had a focus group discussion, but a scale of Delhi, having a 50-centric territory is a big challenge. How do you really talk about scale when we are talking about master plan? So the whole process has to be, defined. And I think the time has come, and I don't hesitate and mince my words. The time has come. We have to relook. And if our Sherpa of G20 says that master plan is the crucial instrument, and actually I do agree with him that that's the only legal instrument at this moment of time cities have. We change that legal instrument, that's a different. But at this moment, any change which has to happen in the city is the only legal instrument is either the master plan, either the building bylaws, or a thing. So if you have to make them more people orienting, I think we need to really talk more structural changes than just saying that master plan can be present. I don't see we have a much of a scope on at this moment of time while we are talking about this to convert thing. I think we need to go back to the drawing board, and whether we really want that type of a master planning exercise, or we need to go back to the second thing which we are saying, that if I have to do a citizen survey, first thing citizens say, what is there for me? Why should I participate in your master planning or in your smart city exercise? What do I get out of it? So how do you really convert that just master planning exercise or any design exercise should not be looked at as a creation of infrastructure, or I am the master, I am providing services to you, but it should be looking at operational efficiencies and outcome-based approach. So empowering citizens that he has an authority to really define what outcomes he has to do. Unless we start looking at those type of governance models, I think again we will not be able to do safety. Second thing is, third thing which I have been noticing is that how do you bring the aspects of participation with the lens of, as a citizen, how safe I am. Is that, my only thing is, we are all talking about, and I'm sorry to say, we all are talking about, let's move into a bicycle friendly cities. And there's a huge movement of bicycle friendly cities. Our life mission talks about one of the agenda is we will move it. How will you move a bicycle? I can't get out of my house 5 minutes. Either the street dog will bite me, or either some car will hit me. And then unless we create that infrastructure, you cannot have a behavioral change just because you want a bicycle friendly city. The behavioral change has to be instigated. It has to be worked together. We have to look at what institutional changes are required to really work on a behavioral change, which we are really targeting for. So that's another area. And third thing, which I particularly see, and I'll stop here. When I was a part of the ministry, and the first time the the question came that India is aspiring for a smart cities, there was a discussion. They asked me also, as I was one of the consultants there, how do you see a smart city? And for me, the smart city is very, very two things. One is as a physical smart city. When I go to my city, I see good roads, I see a better walking environment, I see a green parks, and that is a physical sense of smartness. When I am a citizen, I come down to a city, and I belong to a small city of Himachal on the hills. When the city of Himachal was declared as Dharamshala as one of the smart city, when when it was declared, and I was part of that thing, and I landed and I saw. Went to a smart toilet in the smart city which was constructed, and my mother, who is 80 years old, could not access the toilet because the women toilet has to climb down 40 steps down to really use it, and the water was flowing from the male toilet to the women toilet, and it was such a slippery. I won't call it a smart city. So question is, first thing one realizes, my railway station when I had is a smart, my bus stop is a smart, my road to from that is smart, that is smart city. And second is how reactive my city, urban local bodies. So operational smart city, when I go and I talk about birth and death certificate, my city gives in a birth and death certificate to me. So for me, it's a sense and feeling of smartness which I get through a physical infrastructure which is created, and the operational efficiency which comes through a digital mode. And to be surprised, we just did a survey of how cities are really looking at digital online services, and we were surprised that only around 37% people really accessed the citizen-centric services online, and that also only for birth and death certificate, because that's the one area where I get into admission, I need to get it. So that is the only thing, because that's the literacy of digital, while we might say is very, very, how do you really bring that? So for me, these are the some of the aspects which we need to really define smart cities if we really want to. Smart city mission, and I do agree that I can give a credit that 2015, now we are closing in June 2023, smart city mission. I definitely see a lot of good work has happened in last 6 years. First time we are talking about local area plans, we are talking about neighborhood plans. A lot of new innovations have happened, and somebody used the word sandbox of innovations. I think sandbox of innovations happen, but learning from this, when we are now moving to a leapfrogging to a new missions, new ways, I think that's where we can live, because I definitely agree that within 7 years, you cannot have some shuttle comes and spark and every city becomes a smart. But I think we have learned quite a lot of lessons. We have learned it. And I think the time has come that when we leapfrog to a new ways of smart cities 2.0 or 3.0, whatever we can define it, is have to happen very, very people-centric systems, and we need to create those systems in place, because those systems will not come as just because things have come. They have to be deliberated, they have to be discussed, they have to be dialogued, and aggregation of minds like this who are there and in the panel have to bring up those thoughts together. What do we really mean? How do we define citizens, first of all? How do we, who brings that discussion? Because right now what we say when in a master planning, when we say that it's a citizen and it's a couple of people like us, and we define citizen, we are the citizen. But is it a real citizen? The time, always people say that, bringing citizen is a very time consuming process. So defining the shaping, the designing itself, where you bring the people's thought together, those are some of the thoughts we have to build up in our thinking process itself. So I stop here, and I look forward to a lot of other discussions. But I definitely think unless we start thinking about processes, participation, provisioning of services, empowering through technology those people, and bringing the sustainability aspects, these are the 5 things which I think has to be really integrated in the design of whenever we are planning a new city, and then we have to granularity of data to really justify those things have to be come up if we really want to leapfrog to the smart cities 2.0. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So thank you so much to give your input on our question 1, and of course sharing with us your point about converting into action, about the definition on smart and smart cities, about citizens' participation. So thank you. And now we will go to our next panelist, Miss Katie, and I will actually ask you the same question. So the same question is, what should people-centric smart city development look like? So we have like 5 minutes, 5 minutes. Thank you.
I very much appreciate this, and you, sir, are a hard act to follow. But let me share a thought or two, if I might. So first of all, I love this question. I love this question because this is really about both the challenge and the opportunity we have as human beings right now today in this evolution of history. Why? Because technology is our key opportunity, but people are our imperative. Okay, show of hands, who has tried ChatGPT? Wow. And I am, with my kids' help, I am trying it as well. But we have a question. Is that kind of technology going to enable people, strengthen people, or is it going to enfeeble and displace people? You know, Gandhi said that the greatness of being human isn't, or the greatness of humanity isn't being human, it's about being humane. And so for all of us, how do we make that technology humane so that it is enhancing the nobility of people at every step? So we at Johnson Controls have a lot of work to do in that regard, and I am humbled to be on this panel because you're going to hear about incredible work that really is lifting people up. But I will share at least a couple of pointers of what we have been trying to do. So we live in the building space, Johnson Controls. We are around for 140 years. We're a sustainable buildings technology company. And guess what? If your mission is sustainable buildings, by definition, you're failing. Because buildings are 40% of global greenhouse gas emissions. So that's the definition of not sustainable. So this is where the promise part of technology comes in, because the good news is that we know how to fix that. We know how to make those buildings genuinely net zero. And the equation is this. One, you drive hyper efficiency, rip out the old operating equipment and you put in the new. It's about efficiency. Second, electrification. Get rid of the fossil fuels inside the building. We don't need it anymore. You electrify those operating systems, and then you're not just efficient, you are actually grabbing energy that otherwise is wasted in heat, for example, and putting it back to work. And our water experts will tell you how important that is. So we're not destroying water just to evaporate heat. So we electrify. But then back to ChatGPT, when you do those two things, efficient and electric, maybe you've cut emissions by 50%. Now, I was not a math major, but 50% is not net zero. You still have halfway to go. And that's where digital comes in. Digital converts a building that right now is totally analog and brings it alive and takes it from being just a burden on the grid to where the building can act as a battery, where the air conditioning is talking to the lights, is talking to security, is talking to the monitors on your desk. And what does that mean? When the grid needs energy, the building can feed it back in, and vice versa. So that's the technology piece. And here's where I just want to share, that's not good enough. It's not good enough, because while people need us to do that and stop frying the planet with non-sustainable buildings, people need to be at the center of it. And a couple of things that we're trying to do in that regard, and we're just starting, and as I said, I want to learn from those who've been on the front lines. But one is about voice, two is about equity, and three is about sustainable marketable skills. Voice, we shouldn't do those projects unless it is in a place, in a neighborhood, in a community where the neighbors said, yes, we welcome. Let's have this development here. And I think of my friend, the late, great, God rest her soul, Wangari Maathai. Wangari Maathai started the Greenbelt movement in Nairobi, Kenya, and was the first Nobel Peace Prize winner who was an environmental leader. And what started her mission was that she was a mother in Nairobi, and somebody had an idea that they were going to put a very fancy, smart development in the last piece of green space in Nairobi. Well, Wangari said, no, you don't, and organized people to change that. But we should instead have brought that perspective up front. And so in these projects, we try to incorporate it. I said equity is the second. And what we mean about that is really two things. It's not just that me as the owner of the project will be generous to you who will be affected by the project. We believe that equity should mean equity, and that means the community should get an ownership stake. If we're building a community solar plant, for example, the community directly financially should own part of that and benefit from it. And then finally, it brings me to the sustainable marketable skills. Some of the projects I am most proud of that my colleagues do. We do major energy efficiency work, for example, in low-income housing in the United States. And someone had the idea about 5 years ago, well, first of all, you look at the demographics around the world. In the United States, people with efficiency skills are retiring. In India, this economy is growing so fast, you need to add so many more people with skills. Either way, we need that human capital. And so from now on, when we go into low-income housing, the people who are getting hired to do the energy efficiency work are the residents of that low-income housing. Community solar, the new solar engineers, are the low-income residents of that affordable housing community. And I will tell you, after we go through that training, then we have lost out every time because we try to hire those new solar engineers or energy efficiency engineers, and they have 10 job offers for every one that we give them. But that's a beginning. It's what we're trying to do. Voice first. Second, that when it comes to the dollars and cents, that needs to be shared, and people really have an ownership stake. And then third is we should not just fly in, bring the skills, and then take off, but there should be on-site skills transfer and development. And then those communities have marketable skills to thrive that day and into the future. So it's a start.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. Your points and highlighting and asking, you can say, to what extent does technology enable people or displace people? That's what you said. You also brought in your human dimension of what you quoted Mahatma Gandhi being human. And then you mentioned about the neighborhoods and whether and to what extent they are welcoming smart solutions. And of course, about the need for skills. Thank you so much. And now I will go to our next panelist, Ms. Nandan GIZ. And here I will ask you a question, which is, what role do you think citizens should play in the design and implementation of smart cities? And then we had a little add-on here. How can we ensure that their voices are heard and needs are met? So we have like 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to TERI and to you for the panel and for the invitation. I do not know if I can be as forceful as my previous speakers, let us see. So before I start answering the question, there is something that I wanted to talk about what GIZ has been doing till now and how I'm sitting here then. So GIZ is a bilateral cooperation where we are part of the development cooperation, and as part of the Climate Smart Cities project, we worked in 3 cities in India, Bhubaneswar, Coimbatore and Kochi. and supported the Smart Cities mission at the Government of India. And IUA, of course, is also one of our partners. What we really did on the ground, and I think this is something that where the people-centric part comes in. So we looked at co-creation. So two things what we were really struggling with on how to actually make the command and control centers move a little beyond the transport sector, let us say, that it's most popularly used for. The city of Bhubaneswar chose a difficult solution or a difficult task for us and asked us to work on stormwater management and more specifically on urban flooding. We went down to then create, use the design thinking principles of the industry. And I think this is something that, it's more and more we really need to do. And that's where the co-creation and the, citizen involvement came in. Together with institutes, a whole bunch of think tanks, various organizations, we developed a prototype for stormwater, urban flooding. However, it didn't stop at that. We had to go down on the ground, actually ask the citizens if the area, because it was done for a particular area in a pilot, do you really like this? Is this really your, of interest to you? Do you want it? We developed something, we went back again. Yeah, so there were iterations. The same approach we went on to develop also in preparation of detailed planning reports, yeah, of using the Sponge City concept, again for Bhubaneswar, developing a master plan. However, it was an iterative process, trying to get the voice of the citizens back to say that, is this really what you want? If yes, then we should continue. The second, and probably that was more interesting, was in Coimbatore, where we made a green park for a community, with the community. We developed this with the community. We went back to the community, and then the community endorsed, and now this is getting implemented by the city's fund. So the iterative process is something that is one way to ensure citizen participation, is what I wanted to get on the board. And of course, master plan is there, but it's the area development plan and further down that really helps. There are issues and there are issues where the local contractor who's making the road is probably making a road which is higher than the local ground, and ends up causing flooding in a neighborhood which had never seen flooding. And this is something we've seen repeatedly, which is coming again and again in cities which never saw flood management, yeah, which had no incidents of floods ever before. And this is something, coming up. So my submission is that we really need to go down further. Yeah, so it's not only the planners, it's not only the the people who are making the master plan, let's say, but it's really the day-to-day activity where we should be consulting the people. So if we are making a tarmac road and we are raising the level of that tarmac, yeah, we should actually listen to the citizens that, okay, this is causing a problem. Come back, maybe rectify, maybe there is something else that we need to do. But this is one approach. The second is, I think we are very complex in whatever we say in our digital world, in our digital terminology. Yeah, all the blockchain and even the design thinking. Yeah, nobody understands it. Even I struggle. So if we don't simplify it, we don't really reach the masses. And are we talking about reaching the masses, or again, talking about that elite group who understands, yeah, even this smartphone? Are we really talking about that? Yeah, because still there are umpteen number of analog phones, yeah, and if we are really talking about taking it further, whatever revolution we are talking about, if we have to go further and reach each and every citizen of the country, we really need to simplify. Whatever language it is, we need to simplify. Third, and probably I would stop at that, was a very interesting thing that that came back actually from you, Hitesh, and this was how to get motivation, how to make sure that 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 the parliamentarian on or the MLA or the local political will is with you. And with the climate smart cities assessment framework that we did from the ministry side, and then NIUA continues, one very interesting thing that you told was that there were parliamentarians who came to your office and who was actually asking, yeah, my rating is this, or my city is this, or this was not done, or this city was not included. So creating a buzz around the fact that we really want to be included in something. If we can get the political will to it, if we can show more and more what is really happening, what's needed to really get that voice of the people on the ground to the real policymakers and back, I think we will have achieved that. But I will stop at that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing with us. And what you mentioned is, you can say, approach about co-creation. You also mentioned the process on how to work with participation, the terminology we are using, and the political will. So thank you for your input here. And now we will go to our next panelist, Ms. Shruti, that is from C40. And I think we will go back to, we will go to one question for you here. So what do you see as the future of smart city development?
Great.
Thank you. Yeah, 5 minutes. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. And it's always tough to kind of be towards the end, right? Because everybody said everything that needs to be said. So I'm just going to do a job of reiterating that. But just, I will just try to highlight some trends that we're seeing, right? We already know we are probably at the most accelerated growth of urbanization, right? People are moving to cities. We also know in India that it's probably one of the youngest economies in the world today, where 65% of the people are below the age of 35. And I'm really happy to see a large representation of that in this room. So thank you for being interested in this panel, which shows hope. We also know and have heard that there are about 3.7 billion people in 2019 did not have access to technology. And why is this 2019 number important? This is just before the pandemic hit. And we know that pandemic really accelerated the urgency to access to technology, right? Because technology became the only way people could access just basic services, health, education, right? So it's very important. The last point that I want to highlight about trends is on climate. I really want to put it on the table that we cannot talk about development anymore without really understanding climate. We used to maybe 5 years back, talk about climate as climate change, and now it's climate crisis. We know that climate crisis is locked in. We're all sitting here in Delhi where it's February, supposed to be spring. We're already hitting temperatures that we see in summer, right? So as a future where, this generation is sitting here, what is going to be the future, right? If we are facing this now, what is going to happen in 5 years, 10 years? Do we still want to talk about a 2050 target? Do we even have the time for that, right? What will remain? So with that trend, it's, I think, really important to start seeing what is people smart development, right? I'm kind of picking up these three terms, right? And I represent C40, and it was really good that Vaishali spoke about political will. So C40 is an organization that brings about 100 cities together, where the political leadership has committed to climate action and acceleration. And why this is important is because they represent people. Right? Ultimately people vote them, and they are taking this commitment on climate action. And we at C40 believe that all development has to be data-driven and evidence-based. And you can't have that without technology, right? So we are actually working on climate action plans. We have about 6 cities in India that are members, but we also work with a lot of non-C40 cities on data-driven climate action plans that form the basis of how should the city grow and manage its emissions, which is important when we talk about, smart city development. Because, what you don't know, you can't manage, right? You can only manage what you know. So data is empowerment, right? And it's important to start looking at access to data. How do people access data? How do you sort of operationalize it, right? Because when we are talking about, for example, emergency response systems, right? But if people don't have access to technology, how will they know that there's going to be a cyclone, right? And it's established that people who are vulnerable are the most impacted by all of this, right? So I think we have to start looking at equality of how data is spread, available, and accessible, and start bringing sort of people in the center of this, dialogue. And I can just give some examples from what we do in C40, and people can be in different groups, right? Like we are, for example, doing a student reinventing competition globally, where we are bringing students to the whole center of how development should happen, right? We're taking sort of real sites, we are bringing students and cities together to sort of brainstorm what could this look like, right? That's an important perspective to come and bring on the table. We're also working with cities on aspects around climate budgeting. All our climate action plans involve all stakeholders. When we say everybody, right, it should be like leave no one behind. So how does everyone come in the center of looking at the shape of the trends that can be taken, right? The other thing that we are doing is on every sectoral plan that we develop, we look at access, right? So how can you talk about access to energy, affordability? All this is bringing people in the center of the dialogue of how development can happen. And then really, in the end, looking at how do you sort of build in resilience in cities, right? And how do you use that data to ensure that resilience gets locked in? So for the future generations, there is actually a city left, right? There is access to resources, there is access to quality of resources, there is mobility. We are working on, concepts around 15-minute walking cities. So how can you, and it's kind of sad that now this has become a concept, because in India, I believe, growing up, this was a part of our growth, years, like you had somebody selling groceries next to you, you had, like your ironing person right there, but it's changing. Now, if you go to new cities, you have to drive to all of these. So how do you come back to the concept of this walkability, right? Also creating incentives, right? This is also bringing people back into the center. What kind of regulations and incentives can be created so that the citizens, move forward? In Jordan, for example, in Amman, we were working on a bus rapid transit system where we are working with them on how women could be incentivized. And this is happening in India a lot, right? Women, I don't know how many people even know, but women can get a free ride in a lot of cities, right? So how many people are accessing that? So I think it's about taking all of these facets and bringing them together in looking at how development can happen. How can you lock in this in long-term economic planning and master planning? And in the end, I think it's very important because cities are engines of growth, right? And it's really critical. And I know Katie mentioned this about skills. And, in C40, we had a mayor summit where we brought in our all global cities mayors together in Argentina. And the big message from that was a commitment on creating jobs. And it's very important when we're talking about this people-centric development that we base it on creation of jobs and inclusion of jobs. What kind of jobs can be created for the future of this development, and how is that accessible to everyone? So I would just want to end here on that note. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your input with us. You mentioned the climate point, looking at towards the future ahead. You also mentioned building resilience, and to come back to what was maybe known before. You gave the example of walkability, you can say, and also the importance of involving all stakeholders. Thank you very much. So now we'll go to Mr. Panagiotis, and I will ask you the question. So what do you see as the future of smart city development, and how can we continue to prioritize people's needs Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Camilla. And yeah, it's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I have been working in India since 2011, and I'd like to share my experience answering the question at the same time based on the project that I'm currently working on. I think what is important to answer the question, or to directly answer the question, maybe, is I think first we need to understand the needs of the people, and by understanding the needs, we should plan the projects accordingly. Most importantly, I think, is that we need to define what is smartness. And I think if we ask everyone in the room, we'll get a completely different answer. If we ask someone in Europe, if we ask someone in the United States, if we ask someone in India, if we ask people from different parts of India, different states, we'll get a different answer. If we ask someone in Surat and someone in Porbandar, we'll get a different answer. For example, if we consider that smartness is just meeting the basic needs, then like access to safe water or waste management, proper waste management, then we have a completely different design of projects. Just a week ago, as part of the IURC project, we did a launch event, a pilot project in Porbandar, specifically on recycling. It was a project, a very useful event with the city of Porbandar, the private sector, Saurashtra Cement, a low-income community, and IURC, a very simple project just looking at separating waste based on the very basic principles of the blue bin and the green bin. You all know about this. Very basic ideas, an awareness project, very successful, just planting the seed of cooperation, planting the seeds of awareness. Is this smart? If you ask me, I think yes. If you ask many people, I believe it is. Okay. Let's go one step further. As part of the same project, we work in Surat in cooperation with Rotterdam on what we call a water plaza in Surat. What is a water plaza? It's a nice square in the middle of a residential area which serves many purposes. It's part of the community. It serves social needs. It's an area for recreation. It's an area of community involvement. It's an area of cultural empowerment. It's an area also where during the monsoon season, water can be accumulated and it can be used to control the water flow and therefore protect the environment and also ensure that there is better control of water flow. Is this smartness? Yes, it is. So this project now is part of the budget of Surat Municipal Corporation, and hopefully within the year it will be implemented. So this is a different level which improves the quality of life, and it's very, very important. Going to the level of digitalization, Kochi in Kerala is working with the city of Messina in Italy on a demonstration project for flood warning. And in this case, the University of Kerala, the University of Messina, the two cities, as well as German University, are working together to identify areas of flooding and at the same time provide sensors that could provide information to the citizens in order to warn them in case of flooding. So here I provided three examples from three different angles that show that smartness can have very different types of approaches, and at the same can be very, very effective, improving the quality of life and at the same time empowering people. So I think that by understanding the needs, being flexible, and meeting these needs is very, very important to empower the people and also meet the very basic principles of smartness. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing three examples from the International Urban and Regional Cooperation project in India, which is funded by the EU, and giving three examples of smartness or smart, yeah. And also, I think your point about the definition of smartness is also, you also highlighted this point. So thank you very much. So what we will do now is that I will invite 2-3 questions. After that, we'll go back to the panel. They will have a possibility to say 1-2 keywords which they think that this is the keywords for this session, because we do respect the time of the session. So we will take 2-3 questions from audience. So please introduce yourself, your name, where you are from, and then one question, and there will be one panelist who will respond to you, and then we go to the next. So there's a gentleman, please. Just we need a microphone. Yeah, thank you.
Hello, honorable panelists. My name is Sudhanshu Rajvanshi. I have 4 decades of experience in township development and construction on the behalf of the various governments, state governments and the central. My question, actually, I will limit only to 2 questions, 2 small questions. Sir, can we have footpath so that the people can walk to their destination without taking a transport? Second thing is, sir, can we have, I wonder if we can have a totally free public transport where the people don't have to pay at all, like in Tirumala, like in Pondicherry. In Pondicherry, I went with my wife some 30 years back. I was given 2 cycles for me and my wife, my 2 kids, and a plan of the city of Pondicherry. Go ahead, go and cycle down wherever you go. I was just amazed. So can we have it here, sir?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for your 2 questions. So I would like to invite a panelist to
I think this is a wish list, and I think as a person you asked me, definitely we should have. I don't agree with the second one of free, but because free, there's nothing called free in this world, because everybody is putting a cost somewhere, the cost is coming. But definitely we do need this type thing. But just to give you an example, and I'm putting up a process here. Let's assume the smart city mission, and I'm not using it. What happens in the mission, the way we designed things here and I'm just focusing totally on a people-centric approach because I don't want to divert that much. Ministry decides that there has to be smart city mission. Ministry prepares a guideline for smart city mission, which talks about what you need to do, how do you need to plan, how do you need to come up. It's all top down. Ministry defines how you will be selected your smart city plan. They decide how much percentage of people participation need to be done for making your plan decide. Then they decide on what projects need to be done under the smart city which are approved. And then the same central government then decides that these projects, then the cities prepare the RFPs, TORs, define the projects, they get approved. And then you say that you get a reimbursement because of all the financial contours of this thing. Where is people's participation in all of that? It's a total top-down, what I want, what I get. How do I bring the people's participation in it? And what you are saying about the footpath and all, I think the way we have to really start meeting is go back to the drawing table. Is it a way we want to do, or we want to have the earlier we used to have, and that was where we have, our own systems have spoiled it, but we need to go back to think that people go back to the local area plan, neighborhood level plan, where citizen decides, cities aggregate, cities decide, state aggregate, state decide, and then they compete for the pick. And unless you start looking at a people's oriented plan, footpath, and as again, I'll give you an example of Dharamshala Smart City. I am a resident of that. That's why paying me much more rather than other cities I have not seen. They asked for a footpath thing. What they did, this is a 3-foot line. They put a tiles on 1 foot, and they said, now this is a foot. Your 1 foot is also not coming into that fully. So question for us is, this need to be re-looked at it. And I definitely agree, unless we start creating, it's not question of really creating a footpath. It's a question of empowering citizens to start thinking of how they obtain. And that's why I'm saying process and designing has to be upfront from the citizen if we really want that ideas of ambitious, what you are talking about.
Thank you so much. Yes, please. The lady here, please. So if you could give the, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for a very interesting presentation. I'm Anu Jindal. I'm an artist and founder of the People-Centric Center for Arts. So I really enjoyed the last speaker, Mr. Karamanos. He gave several examples. So could I request some of the other panelists also to share some actual examples of what has actually been done, projects which have actually happened? Some examples.
Thank you.
Anybody?
Thank you. So we can take one panelist can give one example. That's all you have.
Kathleen?
Ye-
Maybe
Yes,
Kathleen,
please.
would you
Okay.
like to?
Yes, go ahead.
Can you hear? Is it? Yeah, thank you. And thank you, by the way, also for your question earlier about marine life. I love that. So thanks. So I will offer one question, which goes actually against the title of why we're gathered, sustainable cities or smart cities. To say if it's just about the cities, it's not, we're not hitting the mark. People should be able to stay where they live and where it's walkable and where their community is. So one specific example, and again, I am humbled by the real work being done here. One example that our company is involved with, and I'm going to go and visit tomorrow. So we have facilities in Ahmedabad. And it came then to a decision as to where are we going to expand our manufacturing footprint. And we decided that as we are building sustainable operating systems, that it shouldn't just be about the cities. So we went 45 minutes out to Kadi. And that's where we built the plant. But still, what about people being able to own that plant and be engaged in it? So the big work that really wound up having to be so intentional, and this picks up on your example about your mother. We wanted to make sure that women had a chance to work in the plant. And it was very difficult for a lot of reasons. And I apologize ahead because maybe these are sensitive things and people are embarrassed talking about them. But I was so impressed. My colleagues, who at the time were mostly men, said, we want women to work here. And so, sure, we started with recruitment programs directed right for women and training. But then they realized that women couldn't come because they didn't have an ability to then take care of their children. So they built a nursery right on site. And then they realized, but women don't feel comfortable because there weren't private toilet facilities. And so they built them. And this is where maybe somehow will be uncomfortable, but this was my male colleagues leading this. Women needed sanitary hygiene materials. And so they ring-fenced a part of the factory, and we make sanitary napkins at that facility just for the women who work there. And as of last year, we were at 27% female employment in the factory. So one example.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you. Now we have two more questions. And just a moment, because I can see we have actually many. There's a lady on the, yes, please. Yeah. So one brief question and one panelist will respond very briefly. Thank you.
So we've all talked about citizens' participation here, but I think all of us will agree that this group is not a homogeneous group when we talk about citizens. It's a heterogeneous group where aspirations vary, expectations vary. So while we want to get everybody on board, how do we really ensure that each and every voice is heard, need is met? I mean, how do we do it? Or is it even possible to do it? Because that is really the heart of what the discussions have been here, right?
Thank you. Yeah, please. Okay. Yes. Very short.
Yeah. So I'm going to be, I mean, that's a really good question, right? And I can say it's probably nearly impossible, but it is possible in the way like you structure it. So just giving you a tangible example, like we did a climate action plan for Mumbai, and the way we engaged is we actually did several stakeholder consultations, and we realized that we can't bring everybody on the same table at the same time because they wouldn't be even comfortable engaging with each other. So we actually really, kind of structured so including the fishermen, just kind of different people, like how do we bring women, children, elderly. So we kind of structured these consultations and also tried to, for example, a small thing, like local language, translations, kind of making them feel comfortable, trying to break down the concept of a climate action plan into really kind of simple ways and how it can get impacted, what is the impact to them, how can they, what could be the ways that they can partake in that discussion. So these were small ways we tried to kind of really look at breaking down the stakeholders, doing consultations, and providing them with, material in their sort of the way they can understand to bring them to be a part of the dialogue and the discussion.
Thank you. So yes, the gentleman, yes, please. If you could give the microphone, that's the last question. Sorry for this, but we could definitely maybe speak.
Thank you.
I think there's a tea maybe.
Thank you very much for giving me a chance. Myself, Professor Shamim from University of Kashmir. I just have one point. The gentleman referred about the developmental planning. I think it's a bureaucratic developmental planning in India. We have to give up this. We can't actually afford to have every stakeholder on board once taking these decisions. But I see there is a hope for that. But the other question was raised about how you engage them. I think there are scopes as such. We have gone beyond what we were 50 years back. I just quote one example in my case that one of my scholars actually came up with a doctoral degree about the flooding of the urban area in Srinagar city. So just 15 days before, he came up with a finding that if the floods of this magnitude is going to be there, this much of area is going to be inundated. Believe me, in the entire hall, everybody said...
Excuse me, just one question, please.
Yeah, it's just that I'm saying that the developmental planning has to be you have to connect the academics with the developmental planning. You just can't afford it, that bureaucratic level planning, and then ultimately taking it on the ground and making the roads to work like these smart cities and the name of the smart cities. You just can't afford it. You have to engage the people by way of their representative, not by the MLAs and MAs, rather than going to research-driven elements. That's my point.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Any quick response? Yes, please.
No, I fully agree, and it has to be evidence-based. And I am coming with the fact that I'm putting myself to hat of a municipal commissioner, and I'm not talking about Delhi, Mumbai, and all. I'm talking about Srinagar and Hoshangabad and the Bulandshahr. Now, if I, as a commissioner, have to make up, and I just giving it you. She talk about our commissioner has at this point, urban local bodies is preparing a climate action plan, master plan, smart city plan, river city plan, city development plan, sanitation plan, water plan. At any given of time, there are 9 to 10 planning instruments are being developed. The skill sets to really work is there within the urban local bodies, and that comes to the question: how do you really bring that skill sets? If you want that to happen at a city level and make so many plans, even, and I'll tell you, when we talk about people-centric approach, and that's why I focus on I do agree 100%. But when you are designing my TOR, there is nothing called it. How as a skill, I don't have that skill set. How do I engage with people? A lot of good example, converting into languages, converting into technologies. But that skill set for the person at the city level to really define that is not there. And unless we start thinking about a larger capacities, if we really want this contours to be really looked at and the skills to be really built, I think that's what I again and say the time has come to go back to the drawing board. Is it this type of planning process, or we move towards a more concentrated spatial planning process thing where the layers and technology will play a very good, where you have one base plan and others all sit on that plan and make up much more, because I do agree that integration will happen through the technology front, and that's the only way we can do. But for the technology to really penetrate, the skill sets has to be really built not only by the technology providers, but also that, as she said, language of technology has to be very, very citizen oriented. So that's where I stop my case here. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And thank you very much for the question. Thank you. So we will be about closing time, but what we will do now is that we will ask our panelists just to give one key. You can just give us one keyword. And it cannot include people-centric smart city. You will come up with another new word. So we just do one round, one word, which is our main takeaway from today. So I'll start again, Mr. Hitesh Vaidya.
I will say that, if we have a people-centric, then the one word for me is create skills at the urban local bodies.
Thank you very much.
My one word is just shukriya.
Right. Thank you. Yes, please.
Mine maybe two, simplify and co-create. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Mine
from-
would be of future and resilience.
Future and resilience. Yes. And from
Flexibility.
flexibility. Okay. So we have skills of urban local bodies. We have shukriya. Thank you. We have simplify and co-create. We have, what did you say? Future and? Resilience, yes. And then flexibility. And so I would like to thank our panelists. This has been great. And thank you very much for being here today for this thematic track. Before I conclude, I'll just share a few points about this topic. Because last week we had the third India-EU Urban Forum organized by the Minister of Housing and Urban Affairs and the EU, in fact, here in India Habitat Center. We also talked about smart cities. And I think there's some similarities here because we talked about smart cities from the human point of view and from the technology point of view. So I think that is one takeaway we can bring also from us here today. Another topic we talked about was resilience, which was brought up here. And from some of our previous work, I think when we talk about resilience, we should look at the human resilience, the buildings resilience, the city's resilience. But there's another resilience as well. And that is, yesterday there was an opening of an exhibition. It was 1 year of resilience. This was at Ukraine Embassy. So when you see these photos from Ukraine of resilience, I mean, it gives a totally different dimension to everything we are doing. If you have the opportunity to go and see the photos of the 1 year of the war in Ukraine, I think you can see what does resilient mean in real life, you can say. Also at the Urban Forum, we had asked our panelists to bring a photo on smart city, a photo on water, solid waste management, and urban mobility. And what we can see when we put these 13 photos together is excellent solutions from cities in India, from cities in Europe. So what we need to do is to kind of understand what was it which made them excellent? How were they undertaken and by whom? And what are the processes which can catalyze such urban solutions? So the basic focus is that they are excellent solutions, but they need also to be adapted to whatever local context it may be. It can be one city from another city in India, one city in Europe to another city in Europe. So adaptation to the local context. And the third point we basically said is that we need to transit into implementation. We need to work on outcome-based urbanization, and we need to move away from activity trap. So activity trap basically means that we don't want to be bound of activities, but we need to focus on the outcomes. And I think the example was very well also the example on the different set of plans which probably an urban local body could be kind of introduced to, also by international partners like us. Climate action plan, yes, water management plan, some others format, because this particular project wants that format. So, I mean, I think we need to revisit that part of that kind of interaction as well. So, but thank you so much to our panelists. It has been really great to be with you here, and thank you so much for everyone in this room today. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for a very intense session. May I now request Ms. Shabnam Basi, Associate Director, TERI, to kindly present a small token of appreciation to our esteemed chair and panelists, followed by a vote of thanks to conclude the session. We have our chair, Ms. Camilla Christensen Rai. Mr. Hitesh Vaidya. Ms. Katie McGinty. Ms. Vaishali Nandan. Ms. Shruti Narayan. And Mr. Panayiotis Karamanos. Very good afternoon to all of you. First of all, I would like to apologize that sorry we couldn't take all the questions. So I think you will all understand that we are hard pressed on time. The sessions are running back to back and we don't want the other session to get affected because of this. So you can probably interact with them during lunch and they all are available, I think, during this time. Thank you. So I would like to formally conclude today's session, and on behalf of TERI, it's my privilege to deliver the vote of thanks for the panel discussion on towards people-centric smart city development at the World Sustainable Forum Summit. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all the panelists who are present here for their valuable insights and expertise with us and sharing their expertise with us. Our panelists have brought in diverse perspectives and experience to the discussion, and we have learned a great deal about how smart city development can be more inclusive, accessible, and responsible to people's needs. We appreciate the time and effort they have put in preparing today's discussion and sharing their ideas with us. I would like to convey my special thanks to Ms. Camilla for skillfully guiding today's session and ensuring that we covered a wide range of topics today. To a very enthusiastic audience today, my sincere thanks to all of you who are present today. I would like to acknowledge the hard work done by my team in putting this session together. Without their support, this would not have been possible. At the end, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to our sponsors and partners, the delegation of European Union, for their generous support. Their contribution enabled us to host this important session and advance our collaborative understanding of people-centric smart city development. Thank you all once again for being with us today. Thank you.